As many of you all know, Fortnite Mobile is planned to be re-released in the European Union on Epic Games' new iOS App Store. But with a recent lawsuit from the United States, it looks like Fortnite Mobile might have the chance in the future to expand elsewhere. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. Now, on top of that news, we also do have some more information pertaining to Fortnite Mobile returning to iOS, because most of y'all might be thinking, hey, the iOS 17.4 update, it came out, it's here, I have it on my phone, but I can't download Fortnite on iOS. And so we'll talk about that, as well as some more recent updates from Epic Games themselves on the Epic Games Store coming to iOS and actually Android. But first, I did want to talk about the potential of Epic Games being able to re-release Fortnite Mobile on iOS, but outside of the European Union. Now, the only reason that this is possible in the first place, as many of you all know, is because of something called the Digital Marketers Act. And this was a new sort of rules and legislation brought forth to Apple by the European Union, which I think is a collection of like 26 or 27 countries over in Europe. They basically said, hey, you guys have a crazy monopoly on app stores and your devices, and also some other companies and tech was roped into this, but Apple is our main focus in regards to Fortnite Mobile. But they said, hey, you guys are gonna have 2 years to allow apps and other developers to create their own third-party app stores, thus enabling sideloading. Basically, this is what Tim Sweeney was fighting for all along in the lawsuit, was to allow developers to have more freedom when it came to actually developing apps for the iOS ecosystem, and they kind of won. The European Union did get Apple to secede to these new rules and regulations, and because of that, in their latest iOS 17.4 update, which released about 3 weeks ago at this point, developers now have the ability to develop third-party app stores, which they can release their own apps on or host other apps on their app store, meaning you no longer have to go straight through the app store to get apps, which is perfect because, as you know, Fortnite Mobile is banned off the app store. And because of recent communications that I've covered in previous videos between Epic Games and Apple, it looks like no matter how friendly Epic Games play up to Apple at this point, the app is just never natively coming back to the App Store. The chances seem slimmer and slimmer by the day that Fortnite Mobile being available worldwide without some sort of lawsuit is pretty minimal when it comes to the iOS ecosystem. But that is good news, because the United States just a few days ago, I think around a week ago at this point, did put out a lawsuit, or they started the process of suing Apple for basically the same reasons the European Union did. They're saying, hey, you guys have a monopoly, this stuff is way too restrictive, developers can't make the apps they want, you guys have a 30% processing fee and that's way too high. So basically they're suing Apple in the same line of thinking for what the European Union did and the changes they made them take place. They didn't specifically say you have to allow sideloading and third-party app stores, but since this feature already exists in the European Union, the United States probably looked at it and said, hey, we could just ask them to enable that in the US, and that fixes a lot of the problems. Unfortunately, this is the start of a lawsuit. And as you guys know, this lawsuit and this process has been going on for almost 4 years. So a lot of people, journalists and people following this case, are saying this isn't going to be a weeks or a months thing. This is most likely going to take years to have the United States Department of Justice compile together a lawsuit, sue Apple, and then work through it through the court system. And as we saw with the original Epic versus Apple case, that took, I think, around a year and a half from the lawsuit to the verdict. And so although this is good information, it's really just going to take a while. If you live in the United States, you're probably gonna have to wait at least another year or two to play Fortnite Mobile on iOS in like the best case scenario, if we aren't able to find a way to actually sideload the app when it does become available in the European Union. But it is good news, and a lot of people have been asking me for updates in regards to Fortnite Mobile returning to iOS, and especially outside of the European Union. And again, this is probably the only realistic chance that Epic Games has of releasing their game on the iOS platform outside of the European Union and getting into other countries. And it's really just countries standing up for themselves, saying, hey, Apple, you guys are crazy, what are you doing? This is way too monopolistic. And ultimately, if the European Union has this in place and the United States sues and wins, then maybe other countries around the world will have an easier time getting these same implementations on their app stores and their devices, and kind of just having a whole domino effect. Again, a lot of speculation, but something that isn't speculation anymore is that the Epic Games Store is coming to iOS. There has been a lot of really weird news and information that has come out regarding the third-party app stores. Like, there's still a pretty hefty development fee. You have to have like $1 million line of credit secured if you want to make one of these app stores. Apple has been very restrictive even in this part of the process of allowing developers to actually create their own third-party marketplace and their own alternative app stores. And a lot of people, myself included, were like, hey, this might just make Tim Sweeney say no. He is super against paying all these hefty fees and these fines for just developing apps on iOS. And this is basically what Apple was directly implementing for these new marketplaces. But just a few days ago, the Epic Games Store Twitter account posted this screenshot where they also tweet, "We're coming to iOS and Android, same fair terms, available to all developers on a true multi-platform store with amazing games for everyone." So if we actually take a better look at this tweet and really think about what they're talking about here, available to all developers on a true multi-platform store, this means there might be other games out there that are on the Epic Games Store that they want to bring to the iOS platform through this store. But it does say me the Epic Games Store is coming to iOS and Android. It is here. There's also in the very small text in the bottom left-hand corner does say concept only. So this isn't necessarily what it's going to look like, but all in all, it is good to have like confirmed news that this is coming. Now, personally, when I heard that the iOS 17 update was coming out and that Tim Sweeney was making an app store for it, I low-key thought that, hey, they're going to release this app store right around the time the iOS 17.4 update comes out, and they're just going to hit the ground running. It's basically 3 weeks after that launch, and nothing has happened. All we received is this tweet, and also Tim Sweeney, I think he's involved in another lawsuit in Australia with Apple, so he pretty much can't tweet about anything Apple related right now because his previous tweets have got him into some hot water. And so he is taking a break from tweeting against Apple and tweeting spicy things and probably talking about this as a whole. So all we have is this tweet from a few days ago where they say it's coming to Android and iOS, and that's it. And you also might be thinking to yourself, well, hey, this store already exists on Android. What are they talking about? I think this just means a new Epic Games Store that is the kind of cross-platform is aligned with the iOS version, because the Epic Games Store that you can currently download on Android does work. You can play Fortnite, and I still have literally hundreds of people who say, you could still play Fortnite? I thought it was banned worldwide. On iOS, yes, but on Android, you've been able to play the game since it was banned from day one. You just have to go to Epic Games' website, download the launcher, and you can install Fortnite and play it like pretty much nothing has happened. Now, I also tried to do a little bit of research, and I don't even know if there's a single developer out there that has launched one of these third-party marketplaces for Apple. I think a lot of people are expecting some other big developers to release theirs around the summertime. And so, listen, gamers, I have all the information you have. Epic Games and me, we don't have any sort of like secret communication about what's going on. All I know is that the Epic Games Store is coming to iOS, but I have no clue when. I really wish I had a date or a time or a schedule, and that's kind of one of the reasons I've stopped covering it so heavily, is because this whole situation, there is just so much like clouded information and secrecy and unknowns that I don't want to get my hopes up. I don't want to get your hopes up. I'm just trying to report on what is publicly available to let you guys know, just keep you in the loop, keep you informed on what's going on. So if you live in the European Union, you're going to be good to go to play Fortnite on iOS whenever it does release. But for everyone outside of the European Union, again, all signs are pointing towards it being pretty difficult to access these apps, but I'm sure people will find a way, and I'll keep you guys updated with any more news or information. But it's been pretty quiet over the last month or so. The Epic Games developer account was banned, but then they got it back, and now that they have it back, they have confirmed that the App Store is coming to iOS and Android. So good information, especially from the lawsuit coming out in the United States. It looks like this will be setting a precedent for future apps and for future games. And with the way Fortnite is going, I mean, hey, this game might be around for 10 or 15, 20 years. Tim Sweeney might be playing the super long game and saying, hey, it was banned for 4 years, but let's say we can get it on iOS for another 10 years because that's how long the game has in its lifespan. Well, then he might be a happy camper. So all that being said, good information, good news. Hope you guys learned something. Let me know in the comment section below. Do you even care anymore at this point? Do you even care about Fortnite returning to iOS? Are you just going to check it out? Are you going to go back to grinding it? Or have you found other mobile games or other PC or console games that have replaced the void that Fortnite Mobile left when it was originally banned? Let me know that down in the comment section below. Going to be replying to some of y'all, chatting up a storm. But hopefully you enjoyed today's video. If you did, don't forget to drop a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Deuces.